In this tutorial, we are going to create some simple basic hotkeys and simple macro just to get our feet wet here. And where I am right now is the MQEmulator.net website, and you can click on their forums and you can go into public macros or general, and you will find a lot of information on basically what to do. And here under the public macros, you'll see a macro basics, which is a tutorial, and it really is pretty basic. Okay. Also, under the general tab, you will have MQ hotkey starter kit, and that's pretty handy also. So there's plenty of places you can go for further information, and we will do more tutorials as time goes on. So let's get started here. We'll log into EverQuest. So let's enter the world. And MQ2 is running because we see the MQ2 there at the bottom. And so let me go ahead and close this. So what we have, let me run down here to the rats real quick. What we're going to do is we're going to create a hotkey that allows us to attack a monster here. So I'm going to get down here into the rat lair, and the MQ2 program is interlinked with the EverQuest game. So let me close some of these windows here. Get some of these out of the way. Okay, so our hotkeys we put over here on the socials page, and I have some in there already. But you right click on the blank spot or on one that you want to edit, and right here we're gonna call this an attack hotkey, and we've already got all of our plugins loaded. So if you don't have your plugins loaded, pause and go load up your plugins. And so the first one we want here is going to be Stick. And then we're going to do Kill This. Both of which are commands for MQ2. And then we just click Accept. And the Stick, by the way, is in the Move Utilities plugin, and Kill This is in the Melee plugin. And then all we have to do is target a monster and then click Attack. And hit the attack button, and as you can see, when it moves around, we move around. And this may make a difference here when the monsters start to die. They do have a tendency to run, and so you'll want to stay with them. So that's what a hot button does. You can put any command in your hot button and it will do as you say. All right, so then if we go on to a macro, and let's go back to our directory, and let me get to where we need to be here, and MQ2. In our macros folder is where all of our macros will be, and your macros need to have the extension MAC. So if nothing else, if you don't know how to do that, you can always right click and copy and then paste and then rename your file to whatever, and now you automatically have that. Of course, you'll have to go in and empty out whatever contents is in there and type in what you want. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So let's just go into our test macro here, which I already have open in Notepad++. And basically all it does is says hello EverQuest. So you should start your macros with turbo, or at least it used to be that way. I think it still is. And this is just basically all right, and then you have your sub main, and then it ends with return, and our command is going to be say hello EverQuest. And once you type it in, you click save, and then you can go to EverQuest, and to run a macro, you do MAC, and then the name of the macro. In this case, it's test, and we run it, and it says here, hello EQ. And we can put that on a hot button. Let's just name it test. And then we can type in Mac test. And so now it's on our hot button. We click the hot button and it does what we tell it to do. All right, so here we are back. And all right, so here we are back. I loaded up test dummy. You see the test dummy over there. And we want to do a little bit more here on our macros. And where it really comes in handy is when you're running more than one account. And so I've got both Telecleric and Test Dummy logged on. I'm going to invite Test Dummy into my group. To do that, I'll click on him, and then under the Groups tab, I will click Invite. Maybe I'll click Invite. Oh, and he's got to accept it, of course. And there's a macro that will automatically accept group invites from selected characters. So now I switched back over to Test Dummy. Let me make Test Dummy look at Telecleric. Okay. And so there's a, let me close some of these guys out. There it is. All right. So you want to play multiple accounts. This can come in handy if once you get good at programming macros. Having multiple accounts is better than a bot. So if you don't have the plugin, and you can look it up for auto accept group invites. If you don't have that, then you have to click on your other accounts and click follow. So let's go back over to telecleric, and let's go back to our test, our hot button for test here. Then we go to our test macro, and I changed it so that it's let's change this back to say we'll use shout in a little bit. So before it just said say hello EQ with a single bracket. Well, now what we want to do is we want to make test dummy say hello EQ, and then I added a cute little thing on the end here that says I wish telecleric would quit telling me what to say. Maybe we'll put some other things over there. So we're going to make test dummy talk to the world, and so then we'll just have to click on our Mac test that we have here. And we see test dummy says, hello EQ, I wish telecleric would quit telling me what to say. So that basically shows that yes, we can control our other accounts. And there we go. And if we're far away, and this comes in handy when you're fighting mobs and the other person is a long ways away, and you kind of want to know what's going on. When you do say, you won't hear them. So it really helps to know some commands. Well, here we'll change it to shout, and so now we will be able to hear him, and we're along far enough away that we can't hear him otherwise. And so then under shout, he says it. All right. So let me run back up to test dummy here so he doesn't get scared. And then we will work on one that makes him follow. Now, under normal regular gameplay, if somebody else was playing test dummy, we could just click on any of the group members. In this case, telecleric is our only group member, and we could just type follow. And then test dummy would follow telecleric wherever they go. So let's just kind of run around a little bit here. And so follow is an in-game function, and we can also use that in a macro, and we can use the stick as well. To undo this, you have to use the back button. Okay, and let me switch over to telecleric. And since we backed off, now follow no longer works. So let's go ahead and work on a macro. All right. So we've got a macro set up here that basically, and now before we used BCT, which is tell a specific character. So if we do BCT test dummy, and we tell him to stick, and we're using the game ID, which is my me, the person giving the commands ID, then test dummy will follow us. So let's do save. And go back in, and we can click test, and test dummy will now follow us wherever we go. Okay. And of course we still have to use the back arrow to back him off. So why don't we create another one? And we can do this in macros or hotkeys. Now, these simple commands like this are probably better in a hotkey. So we'll do Do stick off, if we spelt it right, off. And we can do in here BCT for test dummy, or we can use BCA, which is everybody. And the BCA is every tune that is on your, that you have logged in. And stick off, accept. So we can also put the stick on into a hotkey, on, and we'll make it for everybody here, BCA, stick, and accept. And let me take that out there. It's just bothering me a little bit here. And all right. All right, so we got to take those spaces out of there. All right, so now in our hotkeys we have a stick on, and he will follow us wherever we go. That way you don't have to run around 2 accounts, and we have a stick off so that he will stay where we tell him to stay. Excellent.